Hey, all right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the sincere apostles and elders of a great millstone who are my teachers. And peace and salutations to you brothers out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. This is the brother Yahweh Sap with another lesson. And today, man, just going to be going into steps to the mark of the beast. All right. Lining up things that are happening in the world with the scriptures. All right. Pretty much making these prophecies playing upon tables. All right. And so the reason I was inspired to do this lesson today was I was watching a video yesterday about news and prophecy done by the elder Yashawamba. And pretty much he was going into several things, but the main key point, the main key takeaway was the social security number, how it was introduced. All right. And pretty much how that the way that it was introduced is coming back in the form of a RFID C-hip, which we understand to be, all right, or which we believe to be the mark of the beast spoken about in Revelation 13. All right. And so I have a conversation here with Chat GPT about the Great Depression, about the social security number and how it connects to the RFID C-hip. So I don't want to this lesson is edifying and uplifting of the spirit. All right. And so before I begin with anything, man, I want to grab this in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and right in verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And so that's right. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. We understand that all these things he deals with things in gradualism. All right. Where he will slowly introduce things to make it normalized. All right. As we're going to get into. But he'll slowly introduce it. All right. And you won't realize it's being mandated until it's too late. And so I'm hoping that this lesson puts you brothers and you sisters on game. All right. To give you an idea of how these things are going to be implemented. All right. Because a lot of us may believe, all right, that that something very drastic is going to happen and an RFID C-hip is going to be mandated right then and there. All right. And while they may, that can very well happen. I'm not saying that can't happen, but based off of how Esau has operated in the past, we can see that he's already lining up his chess pieces. All right. He's already lining up his dominoes to put these things in place. All right. And it was the same thing back then with the social security number during the Great Depression. All right. And we're having that same thing come back today. All right. You're having a Great Depression 2.0, and the way that they're going to solve it this time, once again, is with the RFID C-hip, some way, form, or another. All right, we already have digital IDs being implemented in different countries. All right, we have that new. It was just introduced, I believe, May 7th is when it was put in effect. So yesterday, you have to get a real ID. Which, if you don't know what the real ID is, I recommend looking into that. But pretty much, it's a updated version of the ID, and then very soon you're going to have it move into a digital age, because you have all these elites in the world talking about a fourth industrial revolution. Okay. And so because we're not ignorant of these things, all right, we understand that all these small news articles, all these small or what seem to be small matters, they actually have a big play in Esau's plan. All right. And so without further ado, man, I didn't want to get too long winded. So Salakia, but the first question I had asked was, so the SSN happened because of the Great Depression. And so it says, yes, the SSN system was created as part of the Social Security Act of 1935, which was a direct response to the Great Depression. All right. And so it says, here's the context. The Great Depression, which began in 1929, caused massive unemployment and economic hardship in the U.S. And we actually have that same thing happening today. All right. You got all types of government officials, CEOs warning the citizens of America. All right. That shelves are soon going to be empty. All right. And it's not going to affect the rich upper class. It's going to affect you middle class and you poor class people, man. All right. And so, and the way that they're going to come with that solution is the same way that they came with the social security number. All right. And so it says, to address these problems, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal introduced several programs, one of the most important being Social Security. The Social Security Act, passed in 1935, established a system of old age benefits, unemployment insurance, and aid to the disabled and dependent children. To track individuals and their earnings for this new system, the government introduced the Social Security number in 1936. So the act was passed in 1935, and then a whole year later was when the SSN was implemented. And keep in mind, the SSN wasn't mandatory for until a few years later. All right, and so I want to jump to the timeline of the Social Security number. And so it says from 1929 to 1933, the Great Depression. All right, unemployment soars and poverty spreads. There's no federal safety net for the elderly or unemployed. All right, and this aid, they already have the government talking about a UBI system. All right, they have the you have Donald Trump. He's investing billions into the cryptocurrency network. All right, so they're already moving with these plans, man. All right, we're just waiting for them to physically manifest. These things have already been solidified in the spirit. All right, now we're waiting for it to physically manifest. Okay, and so it says in 1935, Social Security Act passed. All right, and so it says created programs for old age pensions, unemployment insurance, and more. So it sounded good, right? 1936, Social Security introduced. 1937, first Social Security taxes collected. In 1940, first monthly benefits paid. In 1961, early retirement options. So they just kept adding on more and more to this SSN card that you eventually have to get, right? So it says in 1965, Medicare and Medicaid added. 1972, SSNs used more broadly. And so it says SSNs start being used for purposes beyond Social Security, such as taxes, banking, military, and etc. So at first it was introduced during the Great Depression as a solution. Like, okay, you get this, then you're pretty much gonna be on a system that pays you out. And if you don't have a job or whatever the case may be, you can't work, you have a child is dependent, whatever the case is, we'll be able to provide that money for you. That's how it started off. And then it came into now your medical history is tied to it. Now you have to have it to have a job. All right, they got to be able to check your credit history through these things. All right, and so it says 2011, randomization of Social Security numbers. The SSA starts assigning SSNs randomly to protect against identity theft and fraud. All right, and so that's pretty much the history on it. And I actually have a clip from the brother's video that I'm gonna play for a little bit for you before I continue on. But pretty much I'm about to show you how this Social Security number and the RFID chip are connected. All right, and how they're gonna try to push the same agenda. All right, because Esau, he's not original. Okay, he keeps doing the same things over and over again with different masks on. All right, he's committing the same acts. All right, he's telling the same lies, the propaganda he's all set up. All right, and so at this point, if you can't see how his plan is playing out, then the Most High has you blinded ultimately. But pretty much this is no longer a conspiracy theory, man. These are things that are playing out right before our eyes. All right, and so excuse me, I'm gonna let a little bit of this clip play, and then we'll continue with that conversation. All right.
The Social Security card. Now, I'm gonna bring this out. This brother sent it into the chat, but I'm gonna just let him explain it. Right. This is GMS Solemn Assembly 4. Subscribe to his page and be edified. All right, because I was reading this too. All right, which we ain't gonna get too deep into it, but
look at that.
All right,
look at that. Your Social Security card will soon be available digitally. So we're moving over into a digital age.
Everything's getting ready to go digital. You read that title, right? But listen to what he says here. Because we talk about how we're headed towards another Great Depression, right? Well, that's true. But remember, the Great Depression led to this, okay? Because people lost trust in the markets, and so they came up with this system. But this brother is getting ready to break it down.
Surrounding the current financial woes that Babylon is facing, and linking it up with the Great Depression, because do you know what happened after the Great Depression, how they fixed it? They introduced the Social Security number, all right? So the Social Security number was created in 1935 to help the heavy burden of financial distrust in America's banking system. So what they gave the American people is a Social Security number. Do you know why you got a Social Security number? Most of you don't. Most of you don't know why you have a Social Security number. Well, you know why you have a social credit chip? You know? Well, you're going to know why? So they're going to crash this shit. They're going to cause that recession. They're going to cause you people to start eating Hoover soup and Trump toast. Yep.
Hey, and that's right, man. So I'll post a link of this video in the description, man. You can really watch it on your own. But as you heard the brother say, man, they pushed it. They crashed the system. All right. Then they gave you this Social Security number. All right. And it was all to do what? As we just read, to track you, man. All right. And the brother goes on to let you know, that at the beginning, people actually thought that this was the mark of the beast itself, you know. So and it goes on to explain this. But let me see. All right. And so my next question in this chat GPT, all right, because I really want to get into this, man. But I had asked, so if there is another economic collapse, how would the RFID chip solve that problem? And so it says, jumping down, potential uses of RFID chips in a crisis, streamlining identity verifications. Governments could use implanted or wearable RFID chips to quickly identify individuals for distributing emergency aid, food, or shelter, especially in large populations or during chaos. Tracking benefits or payments. RFID or digital ID tech could help manage and track digital currency or universal basic income systems, ensuring aid reaches the right people. Health and safety monitoring. In a pandemic or medical crisis like C-19, chips might track health data, vaccine status, or access to care. Security and fraud prevention could reduce identity fraud or black market activity in financial relief programs. And so, pretty much, all right, we understand that this place, all right, or these plans that Esau has in place, all right, it's people already seeing it for what it is. They seen it when the SSN was implemented, all right, but they ended up agreeing with it because it came so many years after, all right. And so the next question I had said, or it wasn't really a question, but I said, tell me how the SSN and the RFID chip are connected. And so it says the Social Security number and the concept of an RFID chip aren't directly connected, but they serve similar purposes in how governments and institutions manage identity and benefits. Here's a breakdown of the connection. It says identity and tracking functions. SSN was created to track a person's earnings and benefits in the SS system. Over time, it became a universal identifier used for taxes, banking, employment, credit, and more. RFID chips, when linked to a digital profile, could serve as a modern replacement or extension of the SSN system containing your ID, medical records, financial access, etc. Connection. Both are tools for identity verification and tracking in public and private systems. So that SSN during the Great Depression was the first step to getting people to trust in the government taking care of them, man. All right. And so now that we're heading back into the same things, because let me grab this in the book of Ecclesiastes, man. There's nothing new under the sun, and we're not ignorant. Once again, we're not ignorant of you devils moving in the background thinking that you're slick. All right, so Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and Yahweh requireth that which is past. And so that's right. And so that which hath been is now. That history repeats itself. All right, we're moving through the same okie doke that Esau set the people up initially during that first Great Depression. All right, and so that now that same thing is coming back. They're talking about moving to a fourth industrial revolution. They're talking about you owning nothing and being happy about it, man. They're talking about moving over to digital IDs. And this isn't a conspiracy. This, once again, this isn't a conspiracy theory, man. These things, all right, are already out there. The RFID CHIP is already out there being used in different countries as a tracking purposes, as to spend, to buy and sell. All right, that's Revelation 13. Let's go ahead and grab it. All right, because you have a lot of people, all right, they believe that the mark of the beast is sin. How can you buy and sell with sin? That doesn't make sense. What is sin? All right, they say that it's they say that they say that the mark of the beast, all right, is what else do they say it is, man? They say it's a whole bunch of nonsense, all right? And all that nonsense, they can never answer the question of how can you buy and sell with it? All right, and once again, that main argument is that the mark of the beast is sin. All right, but even Esau can see that it's the RFID CHIP. Anyways, Revelation chapter 13, and I'm gonna jump right down to verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So if you don't agree with this system, if you don't bend the knee, all right, pretty much to this beast system that's about to be implemented, well, then you're going to be slowly but surely pushed out of society. All right, and whether they do it right away, they paint you as a terrorist, they paint you as a pretty much as a no-gooder. All right, they're either going to send you to prison, into these FEMA camps, man. All right, or they might put you to death. They might just go ahead and put you to death, man. They might not even just deal with you, and put you to death. And that goes for any one of us, man. Esau is watching. All right, he's seeing which ones are not going to be in agreement with him, especially of the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians, man. Best believe you're being watched. You're on a terrorist list, man. Especially those of you who know that you're an Israelite. All right, and then if you're out there prophesying, if you're out here putting up the lessons, exposing this devil, know that he's watching you. All right, why? Because, hey, we're not ignorant, and we're putting the information out there. All right, and in order to maintain control of the narrative, he's gonna have to put a stop to all this exposure that's going on, man. Which, hey, we're coming into those times, man. All right, the famine of the word, all these things are coming to pass. All right, but anyways. So continuing it back in this conversation I was having. So government use in social systems. SSNs enable access to government programs. All right, the Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment, social, so on and so forth. RFID chips could potentially streamline or automate that access by storing your credentials or linking directly to government databases. Connection. RFID could be used to manage the same systems that currently rely on SSNs. And so they're also going to be pushing convenience. All right, centralization of information. SSNs are tied to centralized databases containing sensitive personal information. RFID chips, especially if embedded in the body or used as digital IDs, would allow real-time access to that kind of data, making identity management more efficient but also more invasive. Connection. RFID chips could serve as a next step in the evolution of centralized ID systems that began with social security numbers. All right, 4. Security and surveillance concerns. SSNs are frequently targeted in identity theft, and there are concerns about how much information is leaked to one number. RFID chips raise similar and often greater privacy concerns since they could be scanned or tracked remotely. Connection. Both systems raise questions about privacy, consent, and data security. So they already, little do you know, they already have this system in place. All right, they already have the system in place. All that we're waiting for is for something drastic to happen and for these things to be mandated, man. All right, and they already have, once again, they already have countries that are using it, right? And we're gonna get into that as well. So it says, so while SSNs and RFID chips are not the same, the RFID chip can be seen as a technological evolution of what the SSN represents, a centralized system to identity, track, and manage individuals within an economic and social structure. All right, and this isn't just going to be, all right, for information in your hand, man. You're going to be able to purchase with this, to sell with this. All right. And so it says here are some real world examples where digital ID chips or RFID implants are being used or tested today. One, Sweden. All right, voluntary microchip implants. Thousands of Swedes have voluntarily implanted RFID chips in their hands. Use replacing key cards and train tickets, accessing buildings, storing health data, contactless payments. Contactless payments. All right, so it's already being used. You're already seeing this system being implemented. All right, it says how chips are typically injected between the thumb and the index finger. On which hand? It doesn't matter. On either one of your hands. They could put it in your head if they want. They already got the Neuralink. All right, and much more. It's not just the Neuralink. That's just the main one that everyone knows of. But there's other companies that are working on a brain chip as well. Okay. Right now, the participation is optional and often seen as a part of a tech-forward style. Number two, U.S. pilot programs and private companies. So it's already here in the U.S. All right, so it says example 3 Square Market, a vending machine company in Wisconsin, in 2017 offered employees microchip implants to unlock doors, log into computers, and buy snacks. Government, no federal program exists, but digital ID and biometrics are used increasingly in areas like TSA, pre-check, real ID, and immigration systems. So they're already putting these systems in place. It's already being used, man. All right. They already have this system set up. We're just waiting for the collapse of the current system so that way they can implement this NWO. All right. Number 3, Estonia, digital ID, not RFID implants. All right, what Estonia offers a nationwide digital ID system. Citizens can vote online, access healthcare, file taxes, and manage bank accounts. India, all right, health and military applications. More and more are these chips being used. Is the digital ID being used? And they have connections. All right, it's like it'll be your modern day social security number. You're not gonna think too much of it. You know, you're not gonna understand, or if you don't have the truth, if you don't have this ministry, the faith of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, then you're not gonna understand why this is so important not to take. All right, why these connections are so important, why everything happening in the world is important, man. You're not gonna understand that. All right, and if you don't believe me, let me grab this article real quick. All right, this is how we are. This is where we're going in the U.S. right now. All right, everything is falling apart, man. You got truckers; they're not having enough product to ship around the U.S., man, from these ports. All right, they're talking about empty shelves very soon. More and more people are starting to save their money. All right, they're pulling the money out of their 401ks. All right, so eventually, man, you're gonna see these banks collapse. All right, you're gonna see unemployment rates rise at an all-time high, something that we've never seen before, man. All right, it's gonna be something drastic. Okay, you're gonna have a martial law, race wars. You have protests going on all around America, man. All right, and you actually have them setting it up to go out on certain days. All right, you got the government coming out with new acts to make it illegal pretty much to boycott Israel. So there's a lot going on, man. All right, and this is all the lead up to this new system being implemented. All right, so this article reads, how close is the U.S. to a recession? Here's what key indicators say. And so it says key facts. Goldman Sachs reaffirmed its probability of a U.S. recession over the next 12 months at 45%, as the investment bank's chief economist Jan Hatzius wrote Tuesday. There's still high probability of an event-driven downturn. Hatzius noted that there's still meaningful risk that some of the paused reciprocal tariffs will take effect after all, Nodding to the country by country levies, Trump announced April 2nd before pausing many of those tariffs a week later as financial markets sold off. And so, they're trying to prolong this kingdom by putting a pause on these tariffs, but eventually these tariffs are going to be implemented, and it's going to, once the system collapses, it's game over, man. Says others on Wall Street are more optimistic as Salida Marcelli, UBS Wealth Management's chief investment officer Americas, wrote Tuesday she expects the U.S. to dodge a full-blown recession this year as trade deals are agreed and tariffs are reduced. And so you have all these higher-ups, all these officials that are speaking about a recession, about an economic collapse. All right, they're talking about empty shelves. Let me see if I can grab an article on empty shelves. Empty store shelves might be coming sooner than you think. Co-op cyber attack leaves island shop shelves empty. All right, America faces empty shelves by summer amid Trump trade war. All right, and so these things are taking place. All right, this is happening, and it's happening very quickly, okay? And so back in this conversation I was having, the next question I had asked was, how would the fourth industrial revolution involve the RFID chip? How would the new system look like? And so pretty much it says how RFID chips fit into the industrial revolution. Seamless identity integration. Your chip could store or link to a unified digital ID containing health records, financial accounts or digital currency wallets, employment credentials, social benefit access. This means no need for cards, passwords, or paper documents. You can just scan your hand or another implant for access and authentication. Personalized real-time services with your chip linked to AI systems. Healthcare systems could automatically retrieve and update records. Smart cities could grant you custom access to transport buildings or services. Retail systems might offer personalized pricing or instant payments without checkout lines. Digital currency and UBI distribution. In a crisis economy, a government could deposit UBI or stimulus funds directly to your chip-linked wallet. This could be controlled or programmed for specific usage, example, food and or rent, and so on and so forth, man. All right, and so this is explaining to you how this chip could be implemented as that solution to a crashing economy. All right, let's keep that in mind. That was the initial question here. All right, and how this is linked to the social security number. This is pretty much an advanced technological evolution. All right, pretty much all your information on one ID, and it makes it great because that ID is implemented inside of you. All right, and that's the way that they're gonna sell it to you, man. All right. But we're here to tell you, the prophets of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh through his son, Yahweh Shai, are here to tell you not to take it, all right? Because it may sound good in the long run, but this is what's going to happen. The book of Revelation, chapter 14 and verse 8. Or matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 8. And it says, and there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And so Babylon's destruction is coming very soon. And we see how these nations are turning against America as we speak. All right, in verse 9, and this is the point, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. And so that's right, man. So if you receive that mark, well, then ultimately you have a missile with your name on it, man. All right, that's going to come down and it's going to burn you and melt you, man. All right, and you're not going to escape the judgment of the Heavenly Father. And so back in this conversation, It says security and surveillance chips could be used for location tracking, border control, and access authorization. Integration with AI, facial recognition, blockchain, or biometric databases raises both promise and concern. All right. It says how the new system could look. Waking up. Your smart home unlocks via chip recognition. Your health vitals are scanned and shared with your AI health assistant. 2. Going to work. Transit gates open automatically by scanning your chip. Your employer verifies your time in and performance data through integrated system. 3. Buying lunch. No cash or card. Your chip handles instant biometric payment. All right. So once again, the question asked, if the mark of the beast is not this chip, all right, what is it? All right, if it's sin, explain how you can buy and sell with sin. All right, how can you buy and sell with sin? All right, how can you buy and sell with anything that's not the chip? All right, and so it says, verse 4, healthcare visit. Your medical history is pulled up immediately. Prescription synced with pharmacies. 5. Government interaction. Your tax returns are auto-filled. Social benefits or digital currency are instantly distributed to your ID-linked wallet. And so pretty much you're gonna be subject to these digital. You're gonna be subject to this digital system with a digital ID. All right, and if you don't take part in that, then guess what's gonna happen, man? You're gonna be cut off from the system, and you're either going to be put into these camps, into prison, or put to death. All right. In summary, all right, it says question. In summary, the fourth. Salakia. In summary, the RFID chip in the 4IR, which is the fourth industrial revolution, is envisioned as a personal digital key, one that grants you accesses to services, money, health, and identity in an AI-connected world. It's efficient and powerful, but it raises major questions about freedom, consent, and control. All right, and so I had said after that, a lot of people disagree with this, though. How would the government force this new system? So it says, you're absolutely right. Many people strongly disagree with the idea of implantable RFID chips or centralized digital ID systems. And the reason why they strongly disagree is the same reason they disagree with the first initial social security number, because they believed it to be the mark of the beast. But they did what? They accepted it anyways. All right, it's going to be the same thing today. Eventually, they're going to accept it. All right, those who are not of the elect or the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, all right, you're ultimately destined to be doomed. All right. And so it says concerns about privacy, surveillance, freedom, and bodily autonomy are at the heart of the debate. So how could a government or powerful institutions push or enforce such a system? Let's break it down realistically. So pretty much this is how this is the way that it will be implemented. So 1, not by force, but by gradual integration, a soft push. Governments rarely roll out radical tech with immediate mandates. Instead, they often use soft power strategies such as A. Incentivization, offering convenience, speed, or exclusive benefits to those who adopt the tech early. Example, faster airport lines with digital ID. Example, extra financial aid or stimulus through a chip-linked wallet. B. Dependency through digital infrastructure, gradually shifting services like welfare, healthcare, banking to only be accessible via digital ID systems. Those without access may face increasing difficulty functioning in society. Corporate adoption, or C. Corporate adoption. Governments partner with banks, employers, tech companies, and retailers who adopt the system, the B system. Over time, not participating becomes inconvenient or costly. All right, and that was 1. So 2, this is another way they can implement this RFID chip to make it mandatory. Okay, 2, using crisis as a catalyst. In history, crises often accelerate change. Here's how a government might exploit that. A. Economic collapse. If traditional banking fails, digital currencies and ID-linked wallets might be introduced for stability. Example, we're issuing your new stimulus through this system to prevent fraud and speed delivery. B. Health emergencies. During a pandemic, a chip or digital ID could be framed as a public health solution, tracking vaccines, movement, etc. C. Cyber or security threats. If identity theft or cyber attacks spike, digital chips could be marketed as safer alternatives to passwords or cards. And isn't that interesting how it comes up with cyber security threats? And this guy Klaus Schwab, let's look this up. Klaus Schwab. This guy. Lack of cyber, this is back in 2021. Lack of cybersecurity has become a clear and immediate danger to our society. Well, how are they gonna fix this? All right, last year in 2021, it says last year Schwab warned, we all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. And so, how would they keep that from happening? Hey, by introducing this C hit, man. All right, the mark of the beast. And you just had recently, all right, last week, all right, that Portugal and Spain, they lost power, all right, and they still, from my knowledge, they still haven't found out what the issue was, but a lot of people believe it to have been a cyber attack. So just keep these things in mind, man. All right, and so back in this conversation, it says 3, mandates through legislation or regulation. Governments might not force chips directly, but require participation in a digital ID system for access to travel, employment, banking, or digital currency. Those who don't comply may be excluded, effectively creating a two-tier society. 4, psychological and social pressure. Media narratives, peer pressure, and fear of being left behind can normalize the system. Non-adopters might be labeled as dangerous, non-compliant, or anti-progress, creating social pressures to conform. And so, the final thought, governments wouldn't likely force RFID chips overnight. That would trigger widespread resistance. But incremental changes, especially during crises, could normalize digital ID systems over time. The chip might come later as a more efficient upgrade. And so it asked me, would you like a historical comparison to how similar tech like Social Security or smartphones was widely adopted despite early resistance? All right, and so this is where it links up with the Social Security number, okay? And so it says, one, Social Security number in the 1930s, initial reaction. Many Americans feared the SSN was the start of government surveillance or a numbered society. Some religious groups opposed it, linking it to biblical prophecy, which is Revelation 13, or the loss of personal freedom. How it was adopted. SSN was introduced as a tool for retirement benefits during the Great Depression. Over time, it became required for employment, banking, taxes, government services. Man, this is all through the spirit that it did it like this. All right. The key strategy, you don't have to get one unless you want to work, file taxes, or get benefits. Outcome, it became impossible to fully participate in society without one. All right. And so these things, all right, it's all coming to pass. All right. And so the final takeaway, history shows that crisis plus convenience plus gradualism often turns controversial technology into normalized, even essential tools. RFID chips, if tied to the right incentives and framed correctly, could follow the same path, even if people initially resist. And so that's right. So, hey, this is why it's important. All right. To keep your head on the swivel, man, to stay vigilant. All right, and to stay sober, all right, because your adversary, the devil, walks around seeking whom he may devour, okay? And so with that, I'm going to end it off here in the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10, and it reads, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So don't trust Esau, Edom, the so-called self-proclaimed white man. All right, trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and pray that he keeps you covered from these things to come. All right, but with that being said, pray that this lesson was edifying, uplifting of the spirit. Once again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Until the next time I say, Shalom.